hope you guys are doing okay. Happy New Year to you all. This year, right, a couple of things I told myself, and one of them is that I have to be camera friendly this year, right? So, I've always thought about being more frequent on in front of the camera, right? Either and of course making content that is impactful, that people can learn from. Yeah, so making videos on YouTube or putting out content there basically has always been something that's been on my mind. But I've always I'm not. I would consider myself an introverted, you know, an introverted person primarily. Even though I have moments where I can blow your mind, in terms of being out there and making my point, right? But much of the time I'm an introvert. I like to be by myself and keep to myself, and I don't like to be all over the place and all up in your face, that kind of thing. So yeah, so it's been a challenge for me to actually, turn on the camera and speak and converse. But this year there are a number of things on my mind that I think somebody, maybe one or two people who come across this video, and hopefully more people who come across this video or who come across my videos can learn, from. So I decided that this year I'm going to be more, out there, make more videos. I've had my YouTube channel for upward of 5 years now, thereabouts, and it's been growing significantly. Not as significant, not it's been growing at a gradual pace. I think I have close to 1,500 subscribers at the moment, and of course, I appreciate all of you who have at one point or the other subscribed to my channel for most of the contents that you see there. In fact, I actually started my YouTube channel in 2020 during the pandemic, and I was putting out some lecture videos, which I will still be doing, much of that as well, because I see that I have followers who also enjoy my lecture content, where I just talk about humanities, social sciences, and things like that. So I'll still be doing that. So I got you covered if you are here for that, right? And of course, I'll be sharing stories about myself, my environment, my life, my friends, perhaps, with their permission, So you're going to be seeing more of me. That's the point I'm trying. That's the bottom line of all I'm saying, right? You're going to be seeing more of me. So today, I thought about what to share, and I really didn't. I thought I should share this actually. I would like to share with you a story about my first accident. My first motor accident in the UK. Actually, I think you guys are the first people I'm sharing this with outside of my immediate family. My wife, my daughter, if she remembers anything like that. I've not even shared it with my extended family members. So my brothers are not aware, my mom is not aware of this story I'm sharing with you. And of course, if she gets to see it, I don't know what her reaction will be, but I think it's for the best that I just kept it to myself, because apparently, God did the most. So but I just want to share with you guys, hopefully somebody might learn something from it, in their own journey. All right. So I came to the UK in 2022. I think it was in December 2022. Right. And 2 weeks after I arrived to the UK, on a Saturday, I was going out with my family to church. I worship on a Saturday. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist proudly. So I was going out with my family to church, and it was freezing. It was freezing that day. So we walked from our house to the train station, and we were actually in a hurry. We were almost missing the train, so we had to juggle walking and running, to get there on time. So we got to the train station, and everybody was shivering. My wife was shivering. My daughter, of course, 3-year-old at the time, was also shivering. We're all cold. and we had to wait. We had to wait in the train station for, you know, a couple of minutes before the train arrived. In fact, the train was delayed, I think. So we had to wait quite a while, almost 45 minutes, and then eventually the train arrived and we went. So, but all that while, we went to church. We visited someone also, and then got back eventually. And but throughout that, from that experience, I thought to myself, is this how I'm going to be moving my family, you know, every now and then, and of course, I think I've lived my life to a point where I try to minimize, the suffer head kind of, that comes with life, because, I think those days of suffer head should be going past. I should be going past those days. I shouldn't, so anything that I can do to reduce improve my my standard of living, to put it that way, I would do it. So I just felt to myself that this cannot be me and my family. Maybe every Saturday, or if I want to go out, we have to start waiting for train. And of course, where we live, the train service is not very reliable. So the trains can get cancelled, just abruptly, and things like that. So it's not reliable, and I just felt that no, I can't do this, and I decided I was going to get a car. Thankfully, I came to the UK with my international license, so I decided to get a car. And to cut the long story short, I went on Facebook Market, which is where most JJCs like me at the time, get good deals from. So I went on Facebook Market and looked for a car that was cheap, manual transmission, affordable, and I got a Ford Focus, red color Ford Focus. I think I got it for about £800. So I paid for it, got it home, went online, did the tax, did the insurance tax and all that. Now, back in Nigeria, where I have lived all my life, right? We drive on the where is it now? On the left side of the road, right? That's where we drive. We drive on the left side of the road. But here in the UK, you drive on the right side of the road, and the cars are also right-hand drives. In the Nigeria, they are left-hand drives. So the steering is on the left-hand side. Here in the UK, the steering is on the right-hand side. So that was something for me to, to transition to. And in fact, the very day I arrived, right, the guy who picked us from the airport was also a Nigerian guy. And as I was talking with him, as we're driving from the airport to where we live, it's almost 3 hours drive. So we spoke a lot, and I got to find out that he just arrived in the UK himself 2 months before me. So he arrived in somewhere like September. And he was already coming to the airport 3 hours drive to pick somebody else, and I think I paid him that day £220. And I was like, in fact, that was another thing that convinced me to get a car. I was like, wow, this guy is making money, Just that one trip, he had cashed out almost, if you subtract expenses for fuel fuel basically, and he would be taking home something around 120, 130, almost £150, for just himself as income from that trip. I was like, this is something I can do while I'm still looking for a job, get a car, start doing some airport shuttle here and there, and make some money, So that was what convinced me actually to get the car, So I got the car and did insurance, and I started manning up to the whole thing, right? I'm always somebody likes challenge, so I took up the challenge. The road signs and road traffic system and all that was still very new to me. I was still getting used to it, because, like I said, we drive on the left-hand side in Nigeria. So all of that right-hand drive, how to maneuver the roundabouts, how to, obey traffic signs and all that. If you drive in Nigeria, then you know that, there's nothing like traffic signs. Once the road is clear, you move, you match it, and move. And if you get to a junction and there's nobody there, you move, right? There's nothing like traffic sign basically, right? So here, it's different. At every point, there are signs that you must comply to, or otherwise, if anything happens, you're in for it. So so I got the car, and I remember my first trip to the airport was Nigerian. I was going to pick up, so I put the address in my Google Map and set out. You know, the trip was smooth. I got to the airport. Of course, I was taking my time, driving carefully as somebody who is just learning. So I got to the airport, I picked up the person. I got there late actually. In fact, I had to pick up the person at the hotel close to the airport. So I didn't know that I didn't get the details, and I arrived there a couple of minutes late. And this Nigerian woman, lady, in fact there were two of them, Igbos actually, got in the car. They were vexed, they were cross that I got there late. In fact, they had called me to say, oh, if you don't get here in the next 5 minutes, blah blah blah, we have to get a taxi and whatever. So I just kept my cool. Got there, carried them. After all the long talk, we were going back. These ladies were just cursing the hell out of me in Igbo language, not knowing that I understood Igbo, but I did. I'm an Igbo person myself, but I didn't say anything to them. I just straight face, I was doing my driving. I missed a couple of turns too, which added to the cursing and saying a lot of horrible things, to me. Behind my back, thinking I didn't hear them. But I was hearing everything they were saying. We got to the destination and they removed about 20 pounds from my money. It was really painful, but that was my first experience. So, but that's not even the bottom line. The bottom line is my accident, right? So on the 16th of January, I was on my way from work. Right, I'm away from work. It was very early in the morning. I had my first accident. I had just maneuvered a walk site where they were doing a road walk. So I had to move into the right lane to maneuver that road walk, and then I was supposed to go back to the left lane, to continue driving. But I forgot and I stayed on the right lane. I was driving on the right lane, and then the car was coming, and it didn't click to me to move back, swap back to the left lane. So, I collided with the car head on. And it was a very slight collision because we both had applied brakes and you get. So that was the first accident actually. But it wasn't a serious one. It wasn't a major one. So we parked and exchanged insurance and all that, and left, and thankfully nobody was hurt. Just a couple of dents on the bumper. His own bumper too was dented, and so we left, and of course I'm sure he called my insurance company, which is another thing I'll talk about maybe another day, and they sorted that out, but the one that was very, very key, interesting, was the second one I had. That one was also a morning. I was going to work, and I was actually trying to get there on time. And just as I was about approaching the exits, I had not gotten used to the road at the time. This was still in January. This was January 24th, I think. Yeah, that was the day I had as January 24th. And of course the exits, the roads are very narrow here in the UK, very, very narrow roads. So I think I was driving at maybe 50, 60 miles per hour. I negotiated that bend, and the bend was too sharp. I just went off the road, and the car, hits a signpost and somersaulted, I think, 2 or 3 times. I just remember shouting, Jesus, 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 and eventually the car stopped. I remember I was playing a song. When the car stopped, the CD was still playing. I remember that I was upside down, the CD was still playing. I had to just crawl out from the window, was it, or the door? I think I opened the door. The door was still openable. I opened the door, came out, took off my seatbelt and came out. Thankfully, I was on my seatbelt, because if I was on my seatbelt, I'm sure I would have, gone out of the window, because I saw a crack on the window. which I think was my head on the window. So, but I came out of the whole thing anyway, and it wasn't very clear in the day. It wasn't very clear in the morning. This was somewhere 6:30, almost to 7 thereabout. So some guys were coming in the truck, and then they stopped and, oh, are you okay? Are you all right? Are you all right? And they called the ambulance, they called the police, and in less than 5 minutes, the whole place was crowded with, police officers were there. A police officer rather was there, and the ambulance also came. I think the ambulance even came before the police officer, So they put me in the ambulance, gave me a blanket. So it was really cold, and I came out unharmed, just a few bruises on my hand, I think, and my knee, I guess, and that was it. I was fine, So so they took all my vitals, asked me a few questions, tried to determine if I was still coherent, and and all that, and I was fine. I told them I was okay, that there was no issue, just these bruises, and all that. So they tried to dress me up, patch me up a little bit, took my BP and all that, and said they were going to take me to the hospital just to be sure that I didn't have any internal bleeding and all that. And yeah, before we left, the police officer came, and asked me what happened, and I told him, he asked me if I was speeding. I said, well, maybe I was driving a little bit fast, because it was a highway. It was a highway, and I was coming off. I was coming off. So the police officer said, oh, there was no camera around, so he couldn't determine if I was over speeding, if I was going above the speed limit or not. And there were no eyewitnesses. So there was no evidence. There was nothing he could do. He asked if I was intoxicated. I told him I had never drank, I've never tasted alcohol all my life, but he still took the breath test anyway. And he said, okay, sir, that I was fine, I was okay. I was going to call, he checked my insurance. Of course, he checked my insurance company already on his system, and he said he was going to call the insurance company to come, deal with the vehicle, that it was fine, that they will tell me where the vehicle is, so I can get any belongings and things that I have left in it. And that was it, basically. I was taken to the hospital. I called my wife, who thought I was at work. I called her and said, oh, babe, I'm in the hospital. I had an accident. And she was like, are you okay? What happened? And I said, well, I'm fine. I'll see you guys, shortly. And I think I was in the hospital for maybe an hour, and then the doctor saw me and, checked, did a scan, and said, okay, that was okay. I was fine. But if I notice anything, or if I notice any pain, that I should report back to them. But thankfully, I never went back to the hospital for anything, So I guess the lesson I learned was the fact that, since that day, I have significantly reduced my speed. I try to, if I'm trying to get somewhere, I try to leave the house earlier rather than try to be fast in getting there. Try to speed up a little bit. So that's one lesson I've learned. But another thing that was very interesting, which really was interesting to me, was the entire insurance, car recovery, and all that process. Right? I didn't see the car. I didn't see the car again after. I didn't have any dealing with the car after that accident. I just left the car there and left. Right? The recovery company came. I think the police called the recovery company. They came and took the car to the scrap. Took the car to scrap yard, and yeah, and I think 1 month later, I left my other phone in the car and some other documents. I had to call the police station to ask them where the car was, and they told me where the company that came to take the car. So I went there, and the company told me to call my insurance, right? That they're going to charge me for this and blah 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 blah. And I said, oh, you can't charge me for anything, because I didn't even know the car was here. So they called the insurance. I called the insurance company, and the insurance said, oh, I shouldn't worry, they'll take care of all that. And I just took my stuff, and the insurance company, sorted all that out. And in fact, because the car was a write-off, I was paid £1,200, to get the insurance paid me £1,200. Remember I told you I bought the car for £800. So yeah, so the insurance company, which I just signed up to less than a month, was already paying out over £1,000 for a car I bought £800. So it was a loss for them. And of course, the insurance company did not, they did not renew my insurance the next year. They said, oh, that they can't renew my insurance, so I have to find another company. And gladly, I found another company. But since then, I've had my license, I've passed my driving test. All those are stories, for another day. Especially my driving test experience, it's another story for another day. But yeah, I just this was quite an experience for me, and I just thought I should share that. I don't know if there are lessons that you can learn from that, but yeah, but that was the experience. That was the experience. Quite an experience, which I don't expect or wish anybody should have, because those were very, very shocking moments for me. Interestingly, that same week that I had the accident, I bought my second car, because I couldn't live without a car. Especially the kind of work I do, and all that. I couldn't live without a car, so I bought my second car. Hopefully, very soon, by the grace of God, I will get a more permanent, car that suits the status of a child of God. And I guess I'll definitely do well to share that with you guys as well. So debuts, is that what they call it? Debuts. I don't know, like first episode. And I hope you enjoy the sound of my voice. You get to see my face more often, and yeah. Have a good day, and have a good one. I'll see you guys on my next video. Peace.